the guy just won't man up. You know, it's as disorganized as they come. The guy kujituma hajitumi. And then now, in the company of other men, he's like a woman. If there's anybody mwenye amekuwa kwa porno for a long time, atakwambia the first time it wasn't an addiction. No, it didn't start off like that. Anybody who's been addicted to cigarettes, it didn't start off like that.
That's true.
If you talk to anybody who's been in an addiction of sex, particularly people who've been sleeping around a lot, it doesn't matter how beautiful the woman is, he will still want the next one. Sex is a glue. So what to you if you get glued to somebody you're not married to? The beauty of a woman is in her charm, her ability to influence the man. Men are designed, formulated, engineered to want to please the woman. When the flags show you red, trust them, they don't change the color.
They don't change the color. When it is red,
when you see red flags, yeah, that's the actual color.
Welcome to the Epic Show, the place where faith meets purpose and stories of transformation and impact come to life. This is where we delve into real life stories, talk about topics that are so transformational to your life to be able to equip you to navigate life positively. This is your brother and your friend Eric Mungai, and I want to appreciate Jarika Hotel, Nakuru County, for giving us an ample space where we can be able to do this and bring this show for you. They are located around Langalanga, Nakuru town, and they have a serene environment, in-room services, a spacious room, pocket-friendly. If you're looking for a garden, a place to do your weddings, a garden where you can do your activities, a conference hall, tafadhali, this is the place to give them a call, and the details are on your screen. Kindly reach out to them and they will be a blessing to you. So today we're going to be talking about a very, very interesting topic. You see, men are suffering, men are struggling, marriages are struggling, women don't know what to do with men. Whatever little they have learned about their husband, they were taught by another man. All right, but today we're going to have a conversation that will enable you to understand how does the man's brain operate. We're going to be talking about the king and the kid. In other words, these two tales, there's a king in every man and there is a kid in every man. That is why you see in the scriptures, David at one point he's a king, making declarations, winning wars. At the next moment, he's in a rooftop, observing a woman taking bath, and calls her home, because whoever is taking charge will make decisions to that level. So in every man there is a king, and in every man there is a kid. Who else better to take us through this a wonderful, phenomenal topic than my brother and friend, Coach Johnnie. He's amazing, he's well-informed, he's studious, he's an expert, matters life, matters mind, and matters addiction. Please help me welcome Coach Johnnie to the set. Wow. Welcome, my brother.
Amazing.
It's good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Who is Coach Johnnie?
Coach Johnnie is married to one Kerry Madenge.
Wow.
Married to one beautiful lady with two beautiful daughters, Tiffany and Nicole. Hi, my people. Yes, so I happen to run the Limitless Lifestyle Center.
Yeah. We
are a community center comprising of a gym, a vocational training center, and a life coaching and counseling center. So I'm a speaker, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ, among other things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Glory to God.
Amen.
We thank God for the grace of God upon your life. So We're talking about the kid and the kid.
The king and the kid. You know, some lady was talking to me the other day. Says, you know, she's married to this guy, but the guy just won't man up. You know, it's as disorganized as they come. The guy kujituma hajitumi. And then now, in the company of other men, he's like a wuss. You know, I don't know, in Kikuyu we call them kuda agotome. You know, maliza kukunywa hiyo ni kutume kwa gari umchukulie jacket. So, you know, it's demeaning when, and let me speak to the ladies watching. How do you feel when you're dating a guy? Then no sooner as you break up and he finds another woman and he's doing those things you used to plead with him to do, and he's doing them with ease in the other relationship. Oh man.
You ask yourself, what was I not doing?
Yeah. So I'm asking a question today. Who are you entertaining? How is it that in one relationship, man can be so organized, so focused, so detailed, You know, I mean, he's a CEO and administrator. Then in another relationship, almost flip turn. The guy is now so disorganized, pointless. He has no meaning to life. He's almost suicidal. He's become dirty. What is that? The kid in the man. Wow. So today I want us to discuss the kid and the king, so that now we can get to the root cause, and so that now any man listening to the show can understand when the kid is in rulership and tell him, sit down. The king is in charge.
Wow.
So that now finally you can begin to enjoy your life. Finally. That at a certain time, you know, the question is, when do I get to win in life? You can begin to win in life as soon as you understand who's in charge. And even for the ladies listening to me, instead of now kushikia mwanaume wako tisa, you know, and asking all those questions, understand that when the king is in charge, you won't have to ask him, umeshinda wapi siku mzima, ulikuwa ukitext nani. The king is in charge. That's why the conversation is important.
And that's an interesting conversation. The king and the kid. So what I'm getting from this, whoever you're feeding.
Yes, whoever you're feeding.
Whoever you are entertaining.
Now, let me put it like this. And this is where I want us to begin from. There is a neurotransmitter I've been studying on. It's called dopamine. And if you're listening to me, dopamine is the currency of a man. How you use it determines your wealth in life. Okay. How you use this dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is in charge of pleasure seeking. Okay? So think of man as a hunter. Okay. Can you see a hunter? Yeah. So think of a man as a hunter. So dopamine is produced to help the man gain pleasure out of the activity of searching, of hunting. So if a man goes to work, the truth of the matter is, what the man is becoming through the process is very important to the man. And so whatever he's chasing after may take years to build. So for him to capture whatever he's looking for and to find thrill in the chase, there is a hormone in your brain that is produced called dopamine that makes the pleasure, that gives you pleasure in the seeking. Do you see? So I find ladies asking me, Johnny, when my guy was chasing me, he used to buy me flowers. He was so exciting. What was rushing in his brain? Dopamine. So the idea is to keep that rush, that thrill on. And so when that man finds the pleasure, the goals, now listen, between the kid and the man, they both have dopamine, but they use it differently.
Okay.
You understand? They both have dopamine, but they use it differently. One will find obstacles and use the brain to find solutions. Can we talk about it?
Yes.
You can't talk about the man without talking about the brain of a man. Because the brain of a man is wired differently, Eric. You see, there is the frontal lobe upper, the front part of the brain that's in charge of planning.
Yeah.
It's in charge of problem solving. Okay? It's in charge of memory, of organization. So if this is the part that actually receives dopamine. So now if you want your guy to be this organized, large and in charge leadership kind of guy, what you should be concerned about is the goals the guy is chasing after exciting to him.
Wow.
Because if he's not chasing after an exciting goal, chances are his brain will look for an escape from that painful reality, that uncomfortable reality.
That's so important.
Yeah. So now, ask why men get into addiction. So this is the man, trapped, So what happens is, the guy was chasing you, but remember, dopamine is supposed to enhance the chase, not the catch. You're getting it? Not the catch. So here is a guy who was chasing after this beautiful lady. But unfortunately, the capture happens. Let's go and get married. So here's the man. What I was chasing after.
I have it.
Yeah. So where is the thrill going to come from?
There's no thrill. I have to look for another way to
get the thrill. So in the evening, you're coming home every evening. Umetoka wapi? Huh? Ulikuwa na nani? Wangeshi nani? So it's no longer pleasure in Zion.
No, there's no pleasure.
So the guy will jump out looking for something exciting on the peripheries. Hapa ndio anakutana na kina Kevo, na kina Brayo. Anamwambia, umecheki hii video. So the guy gets into entertainment. Uses his dopamine badly. That's a kid. Looking for a pathway somewhere to run to. So he gets into addiction, gets into pornography, entertainment. You know what? Gambling. And you know the funny thing about addiction, Eric? The brain doesn't know. The brain does not know what it is.
As long as there's dopamine being produced.
Yeah. So if it finds you in pornography, for example, and you find pleasure out of pornography, it says, guys, we have a winner. Come on, guys. Create a pathway to that one. Find the easiest, fastest way to get this guy into pornography. So anytime you get bored, what do you run to?
The default setting is
pornography.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the clearer the path becomes. Do you understand?
So there's already a pathway you've created.
There's already a pathway.
And the more you're doing it, ni kama gari ipite kwa barabara fulani ya manyasi.
Yes.
The first time it's not a clear path.
It's not a clear path.
The second time is not yet a clear path. But it does that for a week or so.
Yes.
Now it's a road.
It's a road. And listen, that's why the Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 5, it says that our weapons are not carnal.
Yes.
They are mighty through God, even to the pulling down of strongholds, demolishing arguments and pretensions, and capturing
anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God.
Perfect. Now, look. If you look at that verse, it talks about four things. Talks about the stronghold. Talks about arguments. Talks about imaginations. And talks about thoughts. Can we talk about that?
Yes.
Now, if you look at this, then you look at Ezekiel chapter 47 from verse number 1, where it says, God calls this prophet, says, guy, come. Let's go to the river and measure the river. So the guy measures and then he reports back to God. He says, and he measured certain cubits and it was ankle deep. Those are thoughts. Okay. Then he measured, it was knee deep. Those are imaginations.
Yes.
Okay. Then he measured, it was waist deep. Those are arguments. Then he measured and it was too high.
That's a stronghold.
So when you look at this, at the beginning, it's experimentation stage. Kale kanyasi ulikuwa unasema. Mtu alikuwa anapita kwa kanyasi. Experimentation stage. When ukiingia kwa maji, ukijaribu kitu ka addiction, ukiuliza anybody mwenye amekuwa kwa porno for a long time, atakwambia the first time it wasn't an addiction. No, it didn't start off like that. Anybody who's been addicted to cigarettes, it didn't start off like that.
That's true.
Anybody who's been addicted to alcohol, didn't start off like that. No, what are we talking about? The pathway to addiction. How did I end up in a stronghold? You know? So jamaa ameingia, at the thought level, ameingia kwa maji. At the thought level, if you shake it off,
you're cool.
Ile kala ka barabara ketu kako sawa. Then you pass there again and again and again. It becomes like a footpath. That's the knee level. That's when you're forming imaginations. Na wangeshi by the way nikianza kubonga na wangeshi itakuaje, unaelewa? Those are imaginations. And then over time, as you're getting into this habit of doing it over and over again, you now become dependent on this. Now at this time you start making you become an advocate for this thing. You know, I keep getting questions. Pasi, how far is too far? Too far. And then you know young men. Young men will call masturbation, safe sex. So when they're telling me, lakini pasi sijahatuntu. Now the thing is, what you don't know is that in this pathway, as you're making arguments, you're not just speaking to us, you're speaking to yourself. Unajiambia why you need to be doing this. But what you don't know is that you're only a step away from a stronghold. Ask anybody who's ever been. I minister to in rehab centers all the time, and one thing that captures my attention is how people that began life interesting, people that began life so full of life and things were working for them, and then at a certain time in their life, they are bound in a rehabilitation center. How did we get here? That's what we're talking about. And that's where the Bible says, but our weapons are They're not carnal. No, they're not just for this. They are spiritual. They can break down it doesn't matter how long you have been in an addiction, there is a way out.
Now, how do we entertain the king and redirect the dopamine? Because plainly speaking, you said the mind of man doesn't really know what. As long as there's a reward, there's the reward I want.
Yes.
And I want dopamine. So whether it is bang that will bring the dopamine, I'm cool with it. Whether it is sex that will bring the dopamine, I'm cool with it. And you know, it can be even your purpose. An activity that is thrilling, it can bring the dopamine.
I love it.
So how does this man?
Now, let's talk about the kid before we can talk about the kid.
Okay.
So when we're talking about, I'd want us to look at it in two ways. When we talk about addiction, we primarily talk about two types of addiction. There is behavior addiction, and then there is substance addiction. Okay? So behavior addiction, let's take for example sex addiction. When we talk about sex, it could come in three important forms. So 3 forms of sex. Okay? Number 1 would be solo sex. By far, in my opinion, the most destructive, the most common and the most destructive form of sex. Now, solo sex is destructive because it changes the algorithm of the brain, how the pattern of your thoughts forms. Think about it. Solo sex, your brain has almost like receptors. You know, kama zile za microphone. So they have receptors, and they're designed to receive a certain amount of dopamine. So anytime you're engaging in solo sex, mostly pornographic content. You know, there's a difference between just thinking and then masturbating, and then watching pornography. Watching pornography now changes the matrix, because it produces something we call voyeurism. Voyeurism, Eric, is where the man is addicted to watching other people perform.
Not participating.
You understand? Now, guess what else can bring this effect? Social media. Because you are so keen to watching other people succeed, you become addicted in watching other people succeed.
Not you succeeding.
Not you succeeding. That's why they can have a show. You know, I don't know how safe it is to mention it, but Keeping Up with the Kardashians or something like that, where you're watching other people succeed.
And you're happy with that.
And you're happy with that. What you don't know is that your brain is bringing out pleasure
from that,
watching
other people
succeed. But there is also another way. That's what we're going to be talking about later on, about how you can derive pleasure out of your own improved performance. So when we talk about solo sex, the moment now you're deriving pleasure out of other people, what you're now doing is you're teaching a pathway that the only way I can gain quick pleasure is when I'm watching other people
succeed.
Can you see where the erectile dysfunction is coming from? Can you see where the cutoff? Because now when the man is called upon to perform, to rise up to the occasion,
you know he's thrilled.
Kioko ataki anataka kuona Wangeshi na Freddy wakifanya. So what is that? That's the pathway. So solo sex, that's why solo sex is very dangerous for you in terms of your brain. Number next, the other type, I would call it type 2. Type 2 would be the nymphomatic kind of sex, where it is passionless sex. Okay? Sex with multiple partners. Sex without a connection. Sex for the purpose of sex. Now, it will interest you if you talk to anybody who's been in an addiction of sex, particularly people who've been sleeping around a lot. It doesn't matter how beautiful the woman is, he will still want the next one. You can't keep him. You imagine that because of your beauty, uko na hagas, you can't keep him. Can't is the operative word. Unable to. Because the man has a pleasure derived out of the habit of sex.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who the participant is, he will want the next one. Now, during this phase of your life, that's why I keep telling young women, sex is a glue Sex is a glue, and sex provides different things for different people. Sex means different things for different people. A girl can have sex with a man, and the man is thinking about another girl.
That's true.
And the girl is totally invested in this. Oh, Freddie, I will never leave you. But the guy himself is not even here. He's thinking about yet another girl. And so the two in the same bed having totally different experiences. Wonders how is it that this guy I love so much, I mean so little to this guy. How can it be? It's because both of you were in the same bed but having different types of sex.
That's true.
So this kind of sex is different. But now, type 3 is what I want us to dwell upon, talk about some more. Because type 3 sex is passion-filled sex. Is sex that occurs as a fulfillment of intimacy. It is when you're having sex primarily as a graduation of intimacy. Mumekuwa na msee, mume plug in, mumekuwa nae, physical intimacy, I mean intellectual intimacy, mumebonga emotional intimacy, all forms of intimacy. Finally, when you're having the physical intimacy na msee, inakuwa ni glue, super glue, Eric. Inakuwa ni super glue. Now, unfortunately, by the time you're having this super glue kind of sex, it is your body getting information, not just about the act, it's about the person. So you don't get addicted to the act, you get addicted to the person. So what do you if you're addicted to this person and then you're married to somebody totally different? It wreaks havoc because you will always have unmet expectations. You see? So that is the pathway to addiction. So the easiest way is to understand. That's why we are teaching this lesson. So that anybody listening to us can understand that for me, sex is a glue. It's not just a release, it's a glue. It has a purpose. You know, when they say, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. When you don't know the use of something, you are bound to abuse it. So if you don't know the use of sex, what it is used for, you'll abuse it. And so sex is a glue. Get it, Eric? Yeah. Sex is a glue. So what do you if you get glued to somebody you're not married to? The government, listen, in common law, if you get married to a guy, if you get married to, you know, the two of you get married and you go off on your way and then you come back after 6 months without having copulated, having consummated that marriage ends up in an annulment. Not divorce, annulment, as if it never happened. So it presupposes that therefore marriage begins at the point of
consummation.
Sex.
All right, you talked about two types of addiction, the behavioral and the substance abuse. Is the system the same in our mind?
Yes, it would be, but now the effects are different. Because now, you see, like I told you about the glass. So if your life is here and it's not interesting, and you jump out, you never know what's outside here. Yeah. So some will jump to behavior addiction, but others will jump into substance abuse addiction. So bang and so on. And when they get here, the difference about the substance addiction is now its dependence and its ability to change your brain, your brain system, how your brain thinks, how your brain is wired. Yeah. Now that is different because now you become glued it forms a prison. You jumped out of a school, picture a school next to a prison. Can you see it?
So you got out of the school to the prison.
Into the prison. So now getting out of the prison is not the same thing as getting out of the school.
Yeah, it's different.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Different rules apply.
Yeah.
So the difference with a behavior addiction, for example, is the more you starve it, the less you depend on it. You understand? That's why I like
say that again. The more you starve it,
the less you depend on it. So, which basically means the easiest way to stop watching pornography is to
stop. Starve that demon.
Starve that demon. You know, kabambe has never killed anyone. Kill that, leave that phone and just get yourself a kabambe. And over time, your dependence, that part of your brain that was addicted to that pathway it dies out. Yeah. So the thing is, that's different from the substance abuse.
So that's behavioral.
Behavioral. When now you're addicted to a behavior, when you stop it, your brain will look for something else.
Do you remember the analogy we gave of a road? a grassy road inapitiwa na basi ama na gari. We said that the first time is not really a path, the second time, the third time, by the time it's going there for a week, a month, it's already a road.
Yes.
Now when you barricade, all right, when you cordon off and you tell them now, no, there's no road.
Yes.
If I find you here, it's trespass.
Yes.
Do you know what happens? The grass again starts growing.
True.
So that's exactly what Coach Johnnie is saying.
Amazing.
If there is a habit that has been feeding the kid in you, just starve it.
Starve it.
Just starve it.
Just starve it. And you see, it's interesting because once you starve it, the brain will start looking for other pathways. Yes. So if you offer alternatives, and these alternatives, remember I said, the brain doesn't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't know it's sex you're doing. It doesn't know. It doesn't know. It just knows there is something more exciting.
Now you replace a habit by another productive habit.
Amazing.
Perfect.
And so that's the pathway. And so when we are looking at it, you know, I was talking to a certain girl, and she was telling us about a certain guy we were with in campus. So this guy we were with in campus was a common friend. The guy was a guy of the ladies. Alipenda madem sana Eric. But then he meets this girl. Girl doesn't know, just boy meets girl. And all of a sudden, the guy is completely reformed. All that is thrown away. Something about this particular relationship with this girl has brought out the king in the man.
Yeah.
You understand? Something about this woman, you know, has brought out the king in the man. You know, I keep getting these questions. How could a guy leave me for a house girl?
The house girl brought the king in the man.
You said it just right. Because every time the house girl spoke, she spoke to the king of the house.
Oh.
You understand?
No, listen.
Yes.
The house girl addressed the king.
Address the king.
When the wife was addressing the kid.
Now, you imagine a guy who's probably not boss in his place of work. Imagine a guy who's probably not boss in his place of work. And then he comes home and there's a house girl that looks at him as boss. Men, hear me. Man is wired, designed to be king. So the moment you see him, he probably has not seen that side of him.
Yes.
He himself has not seen it in a long time. So here is a house girl that now only addresses him as king. At a certain time of day, he knows with this one, I am king.
I'm a king.
So you'll wonder why the guy is jumping over fences, jumping over walls, running through troops to go home and sit down with the house girl and say, "Lete chai. Kini baba nani umechoka?"
Wow.
Hey, who has asked him that question? Who even cared?
And the wife is like, "Saindo nafika."
Then, when he's excited, what does he do? Reaches out, because the king is an administrator. King is a giver. Gives out 500 shillings. Says, "For me."
Wow.
For me. This is for me. The same 500 shillings given to somebody else. He's saying, "Huh? Huh? Hii ndio umenipatia? 500. Hii ndio uko nayo. Tukule hii 500 alafu tukufe." Do you see?
Wow.
So you wonder where the kid is coming from. Over time, he understands that speaking to this young girl brings out a certain part of me that makes me think in a certain way.
And everybody wants that.
And everybody wants that. And you wonder over time, listen, they used to be back in the day, you know, it's not so common now, but back in the day before we had PAs, young people, PAs, before we had PAs, we had secretary. Okay? And then we had a career option called the secretary. Young people,
it used to be a career option.
Google is your friend. Google is your friend. So the secretary was at the time sitting in the place of a permanent, of a private assistant. Okay. So the private assistant and the secretary, for this matter, was designed to make the CEO comfortable. So anything that is not mainstream for the CEO, the PA will take care of it. The secretary will take care of it. So she determines his calendar. Who sees him, who doesn't. Determines making sure that this guy is great. Do you understand?
I get that.
Now, Many years later, they discovered this is the one career that has produced the most second wives.
Oh.
Now, I could have told you that. You didn't have to go into research. Why? Because these women, then the secretaries were mostly women, were designed to appeal to a certain part of... She basically has a job at organizing the man. Basically, she's a wife.
Yeah.
Yes, because the man, let me take you back to the Garden of Eden. Man was designed for his assignment. Adam was designed, engineered for his assignment. That's the only thing he knows. As long as he's working on his assignment, he's running in the light. Okay? Now here comes the woman. And the Bible says, it is not good for the man to be alone. God speaking, the engineer speaking. Man does not know. Man is okay. Man is perfect. As long as he's working his assignment, he doesn't give heed to the woman. Doesn't need. Yeah. You understand? But here comes God says, no. It's not good for the man to be alone. Let's make him a suitable helpmate. To help him with what?
The purpose.
With the vision, with the purpose. So the woman comes along to make sure that this guy is working his purpose. So her primary duty is to help the man. Now she's designed for relationships.
Yes.
Her area of dominion, her area of domain is relationship. As long as she's running in relationships, the woman is running in the light. Kila mtu na kazi yake.
Wow.
So wewe unashinda ukisema vile uligongewa. Wewe ndio unagongeana because the man is really married to this one. This is the suitable helpmate.
Wow.
This is you listen. My former boss says this. He says, if your absence is not noticed, your presence was not necessary. The truth of the matter is, anytime the man would rather be away from the home, ask yourself about your presence and the importance thereof. Do you see? Wow. Deep things we are talking about. And the thing is, this can't be rectified. Because in understanding your genetic makeup, why were you created? The man was created for his vision. Look at it. Statistics will tell you. Go through the list of scientists who've invented stuff. Most of them are men.
Yeah.
Education has been open to women from as far back as back goes. You understand? But not as many inventors. Now you may point as many fingers as you'd like to the patriarchal society, but you'd actually understand that in the life we live in, over the past 200 years or so, the truth of the matter is the women have been empowered.
That is true.
So where are we not seeing the inventions? It's because the women are not designed for that. Yes, they can, but that's not what you are created for.
Not the original design.
Your design, how your brain is functioned, how it is formed is for relationships. It's for relationships. So you are built primarily. This is your area of gifting. This is a fish in water. So any woman that is struggling in her area of relationship is a fish struggling to swim.
That is true.
Do you understand? So the thing is, understand that it was not meant to be so. That's what we are talking about. It wasn't meant to be so. So if you're struggling, sit down and analyze. Who am I addressing? Am I addressing the kid?
Or the king?
Yes. If you're addressing the kid, then you wait for the nonsense. Wait for the immaturity. It's coming.
Yeah.
Yes. Wait for the temper tantrums. There is no kid without tantrums. Wait for the undelayed gratification. I must have it now. And now it's too late. You understand?
I had it already.
Please. The thing is, but the moment you identify the king in the man
and start addressing him,
oh goodness gracious,
he starts appealing to you.
Oh, hear me and hear me well. The Bible says, a virtuous woman who can find? Because the women, they're in drafts, and do you know women have always been more than men? Yeah. So when the Bible is asking a virtuous woman who can find, is a trick question. Because when you open your eyes of the gender, we only have two, by the way, we only have two. We only have two. So of the genders, you look around And there are many women more than men. So how is it that the question can be asked, a virtuous woman who can find? Then goes on to say, whoever finds a wife,
It's a good thing.
what else can you find? It's only a wife. Seems almost straightforward, isn't it? But that you're a woman doesn't make you a wife.
That's true.
You understand? That you're a woman doesn't make you a wife. But if you find the wife, I'm speaking to the men, because some of the men need to find the wife inside the woman. They need to identify the wife inside the woman and allow her to be wife. Allow her to be wife, because men sijui ndaisemaje, lakini wanaume wengine pia wako na umama, because happy women's day. The truth of the matter is, when the guy begins to understand that there is a pathway of the woman and begins to celebrate her femininity, allows her to be feminine, allows her to form the environment in which he thrives. That if she tells you that this is making me uncomfortable, believe her and rectify it. The man, when we talk about a king, there is no king without a domain, without a place to rule over. How does the Bible put it? The Bible puts it that says, the glory of the king is in the size of his population. So show me the king, and then I'll show you the rule, the place, the environment he's ruling over. Allow for the man to gain rulership over this place. Do you understand? And you become the environment he thrives under.
So you're part of his territory.
Oh, you're not just part of his territory. You're the territory that tells of his greatness.
Yeah. That is true. So the wife is a territory that tells of the husband's greatness.
Yes. Now think about it. When we say God is our provider, think of how hard you work, Eric. Think of how early you woke up today to prepare for what you do, what it is that you do. Think about what it is that you do on a daily basis. Then in the end, what does God say? What do you say? God provided for me.
Yes.
What did God really provide to his bride? The environment.
Yes.
But when you thrive, glory goes back to you. Yes, the husband of the church. Do you understand? And so it is a travesty. It is a travesty, as something that ought not to be, when the bride of the king is in tatters. Can we talk about that, Eric? Can we talk about it? Think about it. The Bible says, so Jesus comes across a certain guy who's by the pool of Bethsaida. Okay? The man is paralyzed. Now, paralysis, Eric, is not amputation, because the guy has the hands,
the organs are there,
everything is there, the legs are there, everything is there. But unfortunately, the hands, the limbs will not take orders from the head. And so both the head, with all its ideas, remains on the mat. Anybody that refuses
coordination with the head,
coordination, or to receive orders from the head, will remain on the mat. Let me tell you something. I watched a preacher many years ago. This touched my heart. He was an older man, an older preacher, and he said, the way you know the inclusion of a woman in the man's life is a plus is when his life becomes better.
Wow.
Likewise to the woman. When you're plugged in to a good king, he will rule over you.
Man, you become a better person.
You become a better person. Look at what happened to Ruth when she plugged into Boaz. You understand? She was taken care of.
That's true.
You understand? So when you're plugged into any, whether it's the man or the woman, when you're plugged in rightly, your life improves.
Wow.
Do you see? Your life improves. You become that much better. And so when we were talking about the plugging in for marriage, one of the things we must give credibility to is we marry at the level of our self-esteem.
That is true.
We marry at the level of our self-esteem. So many people don't understand that you don't marry for where you are, you marry for where you're going. But you will marry at the level of yourself, of where you are. Do you understand? So you must be very clear. At the time you're getting married, be very clear of where you're going. That should be what should be in your mind at all times. Yes. Yeah.
All right, wonderful conversation. So my question would be, and to my viewers, how do I know I've been addressing a kid, and how do I stop addressing the kid and start addressing the king?
Fantastic. And this, pay attention. The thing is, with women are environments. Women are environments. Men become a particular way when they are speaking to women. Now, put it like this. A guy will become a certain form of man when he's addressed. Men become defensive anytime they come across masculinity. So when you are in your feminine, and by feminine, I'm not talking about being submissive. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being feminine, understanding the power of language. The strength of the beauty of a woman is in her charm. The beauty of a woman is in her charm, her ability to influence the man.
Yes.
You understand? So the strength of a man, the charm of a man is in his strength.
Yeah.
So the two are opposites. So the man is very charming when he's strong.
Yes.
When he's self-controlled, when he's those things. That's where his charm is.
Yes.
But the beauty of a woman is when she's charming. It's not when she's combative. So you can't win a war when you're combative against the man. When you rise up in opposition to the man, it doesn't matter how good intentioned you are, the man will beat down that head, because there can only be one head.
Wow.
And woe to you if the man leaves you to your shenanigans and withdraws, leaving you as the head.
Oh, you might think you won.
You might think you won, but what you've lost is the man. He has left the kid in charge.
So any other time, this same man finds another woman who addresses him as a king.
Yes.
The man is gone.
And the thing is, listen, men are designed, formulated, engineered to want to please the woman. Yeah, they're designed, they want to please you. So the thing is, when you become feminine, you make your man want to earn your admiration. Because hear me, admiration is not respect. No. It's a higher form of respect. Because admiration, listen, your own enemy can admire you. You meet a guy in town, and without his eyes asking for consent, you can see them light up when they see you, how you're dressed. Why? Because they cannot be hidden. Admiration cannot be hidden.
Yeah.
Men live for admiration.
Amazing.
Respect, honor, and admiration. Those three things. But in order. The highest
respect, honor,
and admiration. Yeah. Wow. Many times they sound the same.
But they are not.
You respect a man for who he is. That it doesn't matter what he has done. You never shout down a man. No. You will get the kid and you will not like it.
Hey.
Yeah. When the king withdraws from office, he will leave the kid in charge. And you will have to grapple
with the king.
With
the kid now.
Try reasoning with your 4-year-old and you'll see what you're talking about. That's the person who lives in charge.
Okay.
So you respect him for his office. Respect him.
Yes.
Respect. Okay? Then you honor him. Now, honor is not like respect. Respect talks about behavior. Honor is given. Listen. When an athlete runs 10,000 meters at the Olympics, he's honored with a gold medal.
Yeah.
Do you understand? He's respected for his feet, but he's honored with something, his substance. That's why we serve to honor the king.
So the woman is serving.
You might not, you might not wonder why David married Abigail. Is because Abigail understood that the man in charge, Nabal, may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but Nabal is still the one in charge. So because of that, I serve him. Do you understand? Listen. When the man understands that you serve the office, he will sit in that office. Yes, you will sit in that. You wonder why certain guys came from being janitors, rose all the way to the top, is because somebody was in charge of that success. Somebody was in charge. Honor does that. That's what the Bible says, give honor to whom honor is due. If you cannot marry yourself and you need to marry a man, then honor the man you've married.
Wow. Talk
Do you
to me
understand?
about admiration.
Admiration is now the highest form of honor. Because admiration, unfortunately, you cannot engineer admiration. Admiration,
It is automatic.
it is automatic.
So if you respect me, you honor me, you'll admire
The
me.
thing is, do you see the good in your man?
Oh.
You know, let me tell you, we've become such a negative society, Eric. We've become such a negative society that many people have not been taught, have not taught their hearts to be content. Today, I'm asking a question in Zion. I have a question. When the man does something right, do you admire him? Eventually, that which you look at will change. When you change how you look at things,
The things you look
the
at.
things you look at begin to change. How you see your man, you understand? When the man is so used to being admired by his wife, and then the wife says, that shirt needs to change. Listen, that shirt, even if it takes tearing away that shirt, it will change. But if the man is resisting, chances are he doesn't trust your admiration.
Oh, that's so profound. That's so profound.
Do you
That
see?
is so profound,
So the
yeah.
thing is, admiration is earned. That's why you begin at the low level of respect. That it doesn't matter what I've done. When my wife sits me down to talk about me, she's not reprimanding me. I'm not her firstborn.
Now that's very profound. Let me ask this as we conclude: is there a way a man can induce the woman to address the king?
Yes.
How?
Listen, the man must be king. Let me talk to the young men. Man, I'm so annoyed with these young men because many men are going to the women to make them king. Am I not your husband? Don't treat me. No. Listen, at her best, the husband of a queen is a prince. No woman has the ability to make him king. No. If the man is not convinced that he's king, it cannot happen.
Nobody.
But when the man is king in himself,
Yes.
automatically his wife is queen.
Wow.
So first of all, it begins pale mwanzo. When you're marrying, pale ukichagua jamaa. Yes, I know we've been sold this bag of goods that reads it will improve with time. The outcome improves with time. But listen, when the flags show you red, trust them. They don't change the color.
They don't change the color. When it is red,
When you see red flags, that's the actual color.
Wow. Now there's something you talked about. We've talked a lot about the kid, but help this man rewire the brain.
Oh, perfect. I love it.
Help this man rewire the brain to start now. You see, we have said we can replace habits. We can do all that. Help this man rewire the mind and the brain so that he can start appealing and addressing the king.
Perfect.
And seeing that it is the king that is responding to the vicissitudes of the life.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing for the man to understand is anywhere there is disorder, anywhere there is ignorance. See, the Bible says in Genesis chapter number 1 that the Lord, that in the beginning God made the heavens and the earth. And he goes on to describe the state of affairs that was upon the earth. He says, now the earth was formless and darkness covered over the surface of the deep. And then the Lord said, let there be light. So let's begin at the beginning. Any area of discomfort in your life is a showcase of your ignorance. Do you understand?
Say that slowly.
Any area of discomfort, any area of your life where you're not winning is a showcase of your ignorance in that area. Is proof of your darkness. And that's why light must come to dispel off the darkness. Now, the light in Genesis chapter number 1 is not the sun, because the sun was created much later. It was revelatory knowledge. It is the revelation knowledge. So that now, in the beginning of your turnaround shall be the light of a revelation.
That's true.
So anywhere your life is not working, sit down with a pen and paper. Don't run away from it. Remember what we said? The path of failure follows the path of least resistance. failure follows the path of least resistance. So any place you're finding, you'd rather find something else to do, sit down and look at this obstacle. You're having a money obstacle, don't borrow. Do you understand? Sit down and square it. There is no other way to replace this word called income. Do you understand? No, here you don't get to fake it till you make it. No. Find out what is really bringing income into my life. So without that, borrowing will not do. That's why you must get to this obstacle. And instead of asking, Lord, get me out of debt. I found an obstacle. The easiest way is to ask, Lord, get me out of this debt. I'm in a mess. Lord, get me out of this mess. No. Say, Lord, if you get me out, I'll find another mess and I'll keep moving around in circles. But this time, Lord, grow me out of this. Let me be so big, I will run over this debt without turning back. That I will be too big to fit into this. So what does that mean? It means I will have a solution. When we are talking about the king and the kid, listen, the king is the last man standing. The king. The buck stops with the king. So that means he, unlike the king, the kid cannot call anybody to blame. No,
he takes responsibility.
He takes responsibility. Yeah. So this is not working. He will summon everything under his care to find out why is this not working. Why don't you call a meeting of you, yourself, and you? Mukae chini, and you say, I'm not going to move an inch until I find a solution to this problem. Until you find a solution to this problem. And when you find the solution, many times, that solution will demand one thing: decisions. It will demand that you do something uncomfortable about it. Certain things will have to go. Certain ways of thinking will have to go. You're going to have to save your way. You understand? If it's a financial problem, you're going to start saving. You're going to have to start cutting down on certain expenditures. You're going to start changing your priorities.
Or if it's a behavioral issue?
If it's a same thing, you're going to have to change some things. You know, I keep hearing people talking about decisions and choices as though they are the same thing. The thing is, when you find you want to change something, you have to come to a place of decision making, to decide, to cut off certain things, and to decide, as for me, from today, there are certain people that will have to go.
It's a real trade-off.
It's a real trade-off. You are going to trade off. There are some things that will have to go. If you have an issue with behavior, maybe pornography addiction and anything of that nature, a lot of that entertainment will have to go.
No.
Garbage in, garbage out.
That's true.
Yeah, change all that. Decide now, for me, over the next 40 days. It's not now, because I see many Christians, you're going to be fasting for 40 days from food, but then those 40 days you're online. You understand? You're online for 40 days. The thing is, what is this thing you're fighting over? Fast. Starve it. Starve it. And during the time of the fast, feed the opposite addiction.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Feed on the benefit of purity. Feed on the benefit of that. How will it be when my mind is clear? How will I think about? Because what happens when you are bound in a pornographic addiction is this part of the brain that is in charge of your thinking, your planning, your memory, your learning, all that becomes foggy. When there's a lot of residue on this brain after the bout of pornography, after you've had that rush, what you have is a slump. And that slump is brought about by that foggy inner jar.
Yeah.
So
same thing with drugs.
Yeah. Because this is what has formed here. So question is, what would you be without this addiction?
Wow.
What if your brain was focused, addicted to success? What if your brain, you woke up in the morning and the first thing you thought is about your plans, your goals? Wow. What if your self-drive, the engine of your life, what was propelling you was an inner drive to become a better version of you? The question is, God is not interested in your performance, in your achievement. Everything we call a performance, Eric, God can achieve in a day.
No, it is his.
It is his. Everything. Think about it. Adam was brought on the scene as a grown man. He didn't have to grow. No. So even the raising of our children, parenting, and everything we call a success, God can do in a day. So what God is really after is who we are becoming.
Who are you becoming?
Yeah. Yes. That's why we must go after goals. One of the things I like to tell men is get a goal that excites you.
That's true.
Get a goal so big you cannot possibly achieve it in your current state. That it becomes totally
scary.
It becomes completely unattainable in your current state.
Wow. You have to grow.
You have to grow
to attain it.
You have to grow.
I love
that. With your current way, the way you administer your life, that goal will remain where it is and you remain where you are.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me pose this question to you as we conclude. If you continue thinking the way you're thinking, will you become the person that God created you to be? Two men remind me of the conversation we are having right now. We have Noah, and then we have King Solomon. Both of them erred because of the same reason. They lacked a vision. They lacked an intriguing goal. So you find Noah building an ark with phenomenal aptitude, doing exactly as the Lord told him. Focused. There are distractors everywhere, but Noah is focused to his assignment. But guess what? After the completion, there's no more dopamine in his mind. There's no more thrill. So the guy plants a vineyard. And now what is bringing the dopamine? Is wine.
Yes.
So the guy gets drunk, naked, and his child Ham came and saw what was happening.
Yes.
Think about Solomon, the same thing. The guy had a thrill of the vision he was handed over by his father David. All right?
Wow.
He did a phenomenal job. There was too much gold until they were throwing silver like stones.
Wow.
They gave for the temple until they said, no more giving for this temple, we have surplus. So the guy was glued to the vision. The guy was glued to this thrilling goal, because you have to understand that this dopamine, this is what drives men to do what they do. Are you getting the point? So after the completion of the temple, what next? So by the time this guy is building the temple, the Bible says, and Solomon loved God. Solomon loved God.
That's when he's building the temple.
Yeah, he's building the temple. This is giving me dopamine. When I see a block upon a block, when I see the holy place, the outer court, when I see the magnificence, I'm excited. The dopamine is there. So the temple is complete. So what next? Women. Because I have to keep feeding my mind with dopamine. So by the time you are reading the scripture, from Solomon loved God, you hear Solomon loved many
Women.
strange women.
Oh God.
So for you to keep the king active and alive, you have to have that goal that the coach is talking about.
Yes.
A goal that will take all your energies. You will need to outgrow your current state so that you can accomplish it. Wonderful lessons right there. But unfortunately, that's all we had time for. I don't know whether you have a parting shot for our viewers. Yes.
No man is a master of the open sea until he's first a slave to the compass.
Wow.
Get a slave to your true north, and you'll find your way from goal to goal to your destination. See you at the top.
See you at the top.
Yeah.
Wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. I told you, you Taka at the edge of your seat. That has been my brother and friend, Johnnie. Johnnie, thank you so much. Special thanks. Thank you for availing yourself. I know you're busy, you had many engagements, but you found time for us. May the good Lord bless you. Thank you they say that it takes a village to raise a son. Thank you to the production team for doing this amazing work. Excellence is key to the Epic Show. Tafadhali, if you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe, comment, tell us what kind of conversation would you like us to engage in. All right, what kind of guests would you like us to be bringing on board? Because this is your community. Help us grow it to the glory and honor of the name of the Lord. And now I would like to thank Jarika Hotel Nakuru because of giving us this ample space where we can be able to air this to the glory of God. Special thanks to God for your life being transformed. Until next time, let us keep walking by faith. Shalom, shalom.